I was 18 years old with dreams of becoming a teacher, but instead, I became the wife of a wealthy stranger overnight. My name is Anna. I live in a small town, and my family is poor. My father works on a farm, and my mother stays at home. I have 2 little brothers who are young and happy. I love books. I read every day. My dream has always been to teach children in my town. My parents know about my dream and say I am smart. They want to help me, but life has its own plans. One day, my parents called me into the room. They both looked sad. My mother held my hand, and my father couldn't meet my eyes. I felt scared. Something was wrong. Anna, my mother said softly, a man wants to marry you. I didn't understand. I was only 18. I wanted to study more. I wanted to become a teacher. No, I said, I don't want to get married. My father finally looked at me, his eyes heavy with sorrow. We have no choice, he said. The farm is bad this year. We have no money. This man is rich. He can help us. He can help your brothers. I started to cry. But I don't know him, I said helplessly. My mother tried to comfort me. He is a good man, she said. His name is Tom. He lives in the big city. He will give you a good life. I was angry, sad, and scared, but when I looked at my little brothers, I thought of their empty plates and tired faces. They needed food, and my parents needed help. I closed my eyes and whispered, "Okay, I'll do it." I never saw a picture of Tom. My parents only told me his name and that he was 30 years old, a businessman whose family once knew ours. The wedding came quickly. I wore a white dress that my mother made. It was beautiful, but I didn't feel beautiful. I felt terrified. My friends came and smiled at me, thinking I was happy, but my smile was not real. The church was small and quiet. When the door opened, a tall man in a dark suit walked in. He had dark hair, serious eyes, and no smile. He didn't even look at me as he approached. My heart pounded in my chest. This was Tom, my husband. The ceremony was short. I said I do in a voice so small I could barely hear it myself. He said I do in a deep, calm tone. The ring he placed on my finger felt cold. And just like that, I was married. I was Mrs. Anna, but I didn't feel like me anymore. After the wedding, there was a small celebration. I sat next to Tom, but we didn't speak. He ate quietly and looked at other people. It was as if I didn't exist. When it was time to leave, saying goodbye to my family broke my heart. My mother cried and told me to be happy. My father hugged me tightly, and my little brothers didn't understand why I had to go. Then I got into a big black car with Tom. The seats were soft, but I felt empty inside. As the car drove away, I watched my home grow smaller until it disappeared completely. We drove for hours in silence until we reached the city. Lights flashed everywhere, tall buildings surrounded us, and the noise felt overwhelming. Tom's house was like a palace, huge and cold. A woman in a black dress opened the door and greeted him politely, calling me Mrs. Tom. She showed me to a bedroom and said, "This is your room." Not our room, just mine. The room was larger than my whole house back home. When she left, I sat on the soft bed and began to cry. I was alone, scared, and lost. A knock came at the door. My heart jumped. It was Tom. He stood by the doorway, watching me silently. I expected anger, but his voice was calm. "You're tired," he said quietly. "You should rest." Then he left. That was all. He didn't touch me or scold me. He just left me alone. I cried myself to sleep that night, confused by the strange man who was now my husband. Days passed in quiet loneliness. Tom left early every morning and returned late at night. The housekeeper, Mary, made my meals, but I ate alone at a long table built for 10. The food tasted of nothing. I missed my mother's cooking, my father's laughter, my brother's voices. The house was beautiful but hollow, filled with silence and echoes. Then one evening, I found myself in the library, a room filled with books, my only friends. I was reading when Tom appeared. He had come home early. "Hello," he said. I turned, startled. "Hello," I answered quietly. He noticed the book in my hands. "Do you like to read?" he asked. "Yes, very much," I replied. He walked to the shelves, pulled out a book, and handed it to me. "This is a good one," he said. It was a book of poems. I smiled faintly. "Thank you." He nodded and left. It was a short conversation, but it meant something. For the first time, he saw me. After that day, small changes began to bloom. I started leaving a light on for him so he wouldn't come home to darkness. I asked Mary what he liked to eat and began cooking for him. The next mornings, I noticed the plates were empty. He never said a word, but I knew he appreciated it. I started working in the garden, bringing life to the flowers that had long withered. One evening, as the sun set, Tom came and found me there. "The garden looks nice," he said. I turned, surprised. "Thank you. I love gardening." He smiled faintly. "My mother loved this garden. She died a few years ago. After that, no one took care of it." His voice softened, and I saw sadness in his eyes. For the first time, he felt human, fragile. "I'm sorry," I said. "Don't be," he replied. "You're bringing it back to life." From that day, things began to change. We ate dinner together sometimes, first in silence, then with quiet conversation. I told him about my family, my dream of teaching, and my love of books. He listened with real interest. He told me about his work, his parents, his loneliness. I realized that he, too, had been living in an empty world. We were two lonely souls who had found each other by accident. One night, a violent storm shook the house. I was terrified. When thunder crashed, I hid under my blankets like a child. Then came a knock on the door. Tom entered, holding a candle. "Are you all right?" he asked. I could only nod, trembling. He sat on the edge of my bed and spoke gently. "It's just a storm. It will pass." He stayed with me, telling me stories from his childhood until I fell asleep. When I woke the next morning, he was gone, but the fear was gone too. Something between us had shifted. Over time, laughter returned to our home. Tom came home earlier, and we shared small moments of joy. He saw how much I loved books and one evening brought me a box filled with them, books about teaching and children. "You said you wanted to be a teacher," he said. "You can study here. You're smart. You can do anything." Tears filled my eyes. It was the best gift I'd ever received. That was the moment I realized I wasn't afraid of him anymore. Our house became warm and alive. I filled it with flowers and soft music. I cooked meals that smelled like home. One evening, as we sat by the fire reading, I looked at him and felt something deep and quiet, love. I put my head on his shoulder. He was surprised at first, then smiled and wrapped his arm around me. "Anna," he whispered. "Tom," I said softly. "I'm happy." "Me too," he said, and kissed me gently. It wasn't the kiss of a stranger, it was the kiss of someone I had grown to love. Months passed. We learned each other's hearts. He told me about his fears. I told him about my dreams. We laughed, cooked, and worked side by side. One day, he surprised me again. "There's a small school in town," he said. "They need a teacher. You can teach there." My heart soared. "Really?" I whispered. "Really," he said. "You'll be wonderful." I hugged him tightly. My dream had come back to life. The children at the school filled my days with laughter. There was one quiet girl, Lucy, who reminded me of myself. She never spoke, so I sat with her every day, just smiling and reading. Slowly, she began to open up. One day, she whispered, "I like your stories." It was her first sentence, and it filled my heart with joy. That evening, I told Tom everything. He listened with pride in his eyes. "You're glowing," he said. "You're so happy, it makes me happy too." And I was happy. I had a kind husband, a home, and my dream. 6 months later, Tom told me we were going to visit my family. When we arrived, my mother cried, my father hugged Tom, and my brothers jumped into my arms. "You look so happy," my mother said. "I am," I replied. "Very happy." That night, under the stars, she held my hand and said, "Love grows like flowers in your garden. You plant it, you water it, and it becomes something beautiful." She was right. Love had grown, quietly, patiently, beautifully. I had married a man I didn't know, but I found in him a partner, a friend, and a love that made me whole. Sometimes the most unexpected beginnings lead to the most beautiful endings. Sometimes, life takes everything from you only to give you something better. I thought my dream was lost forever, but it had simply changed shape. I was still a teacher. I was still Anna. But now, I was also loved, and that made all the difference.